Andrew Vickers, we announced him earlier from the Franklin County Library, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Okay. All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
I'm pretty soft-spoken, so make sure my voice travels a little bit. First off, I just want to say thank you for being here. As a librarian, I absolutely love what I get to do, and I think it's a privilege, albeit one for me that comes with a lot of social anxiety, to go out into the community and be able to talk about what we are doing, how other people can be a part, and why libraries are still important today. So just a little bit about me, because I wanted to tell you, who I am before, you wonder who is this guy that's standing up here just yakking at us. So my name is Andrew Vickers. I'm the current executive director of the Franklin County Library System, headquartered at, my office is at Coil Free Library, so come visit me. I'm on the second floor. But I replaced Bernice Krause, who I'm sure many of you know, about 1.5 years ago. Before then, I am born and raised in South Georgia, and I spent my entire life in Georgia, and I was looking for a challenge, looking for a change of weather, with some seasons and a little bit less humidity. So this job popped up, and here I am. Before that, I worked in public libraries in Georgia for 10 years in a variety of roles, from business manager to cataloger to grant writer to assistant director. But I will say a little bit about my background. When I was growing up, my dad was a farmer, and we really had a front row seat and firsthand experience into the value of hard work and perseverance. And I remember my dad coming home from work, exhausted every night, and he would tell me, he's like, if you don't want your skin to look like this, take school seriously, because I did not. And he would show me his sunburnt, leathered skin, also very freckled. That's where I get the gingeritis, as I like to call it. He'd say, if you don't want your hands to look like this, showing me these cracked and calloused and bleeding and broken hands, rubbing O'Keeffe's into them every night to try to, rub some life back into them. He'd say, if you don't want your hands to look like this, get an education. And so, very early in my life, I learned a few things. Value of hard work and perseverance is one, for sure. 2 was the value of getting an education. 3, I wanted to work in the air conditioning, for sure. So, from the time I was a little kid, the value of education was something that was stressed in my household, even though it wasn't something that we had. And I remember when I first discovered the library in elementary school, and how I thought it was absolutely magic. How, I walked in and I had this, little bitty library card, and I was like, my first thought as a kid, I'm like, all this crap is free? I thought it was the coolest thing. It was, you walk through the doors of the library, and it's the doors that open up so many other doors. And I felt so accepted for who I was in a library. There was always something going on. If I just wanted to be there to hang out, that was great. If I wanted to be a part of programming and be connected to the community, awesome. If I wanted to check out 40 books off the shelves, and the librarian may frown at me a little bit, but she was okay with it. So I never imagined being a director of the library system or ever actually working in libraries. I was always going to be a professional baseball player, obviously. You know how that works. So, but when I did, kind of turn to libraries, and it was my first career, which is, I feel like, pretty rare in the library world. But I remember people telling me, I feel like they equated going to library school as to, studying like an ancient lost language. And that libraries were going the way of obsolescence, and that they weren't important in society anymore. The world's changing, technology's evolving, and the internet is making the profession, the industry obsolete. And I really didn't see it that way, and I still don't. Because yes, the world is changing, technology is evolving, but I feel like the public library system, we are evolving and we are changing with it to still meet the needs of people in our community. So I feel like, personally for me, there is a consistent mission, a consistent vision, and a consistent values for our library system that continues to pervade what we do. So when I think about Andrew Carnegie, who many of you are familiar with, who was referred to as the patron saint of libraries for all the money that he donated, not just libraries in the United States, but across the world, to get these buildings up and going, to get this vibrant ecosystem running. Maybe ecosystem is not the right word. It sounds great. But he envisioned libraries as what he called palaces for the people. And this is why when you visit any Carnegie library, they have these massive set of steps going up to the library, which ends in these huge, even more massive columns. And when you walk through the big double doors, what you come into is these huge vaulted ceilings. And so he had the picture of the library system as a palace, as a kingdom, and that every person that walks through those doors was royalty. Every person in the community is a king and a queen and should be treated as such as far as customer service goes. And it doesn't matter your background, the color of your skin, your gender, your identity at all. Like, you should be royalty in the library system. And so Andrew Carnegie believed that the library should provide 4 things, essentially. First, he believed that knowledge should be accessible to everyone. He understood that free access to books and educational resources would not only improve people's lives, but it would also contribute to social progress. 2, he emphasized the importance of self-education and the idea that people should take initiative to learn and improve themselves. He viewed public libraries as places where people could pursue self-directed learning and intellectual growth. The third thing, Andrew Carnegie came from a working class background, and he fully believed that the library system was crucial to empowering the working class, that it was an opportunity for people to access knowledge and education to improve themselves so they can lift themselves out of poverty and improve their circumstances. And working in a library and actually helping people apply for healthcare and helping people find better jobs and better their situation is something that I've been able to do in my career, and it's absolutely just so fulfilling. But the fourth thing, he viewed libraries as institutions that could serve as community hubs, bringing people together and fostering a sense of community pride and unity. He believed that libraries could strengthen the fabric of our society by encouraging interaction and social engagement. So standing up here today, speaking to you guys, I want to say that libraries still do these things. We still provide free access to knowledge. It may look different now than it did in Andrew Carnegie's time, obviously. We still promote self-education, and we still work to empower the working class. And just talk about a little bit about free access and education. We have online resources such as Ancestry.com, Mango Languages, where you can learn a foreign language, and I am struggling through Spanish right now. So I took it in college, and we will see how that goes, but I am 6 months into Spanish, and although my skills are not there, Mango Languages is fantastic. You should try it. Absolutely free. World Book Encyclopedia, Hoopla Masterclass, where you can go online and get tutorials on anything from writing to cooking to survival skills to gardening, yoga, even if you want to learn to do magic, you go right ahead. We also recently created a partnership with Penn State Mont Alto, where if you have a public library card in our system, you can go to PSU Mont Alto, you use that library card to check out their resources. We have reciprocated that as well, and their students can bring their student ID to us and check out public library resources. So, another thing I was about to skip over, we have revamped our library website within the last year. It's part of our 2022 strategic plan. But we have created a one-stop shop where when you go to our library catalog and you search for a specific book, it will tell you if we have this physical book in this library, but it has also connected us to our e-resources as far as Libby on Overdrive and Hoopla, where you can see on one page, okay, we have this book physically at the Coal Free Library in Chambersburg. Also, if you go to Libby, you can look at the ebook. But on Hoopla, you can also look at the audiobook. That has, there's positives and negatives of that because it's blowing up our budget a little bit on e-resources. But the content is exploding and we have more online users than sometimes it seems like we know what to do with. From last year, the first 6 months of the year in 2022, when you compare that to 2023, we have grown our online users over 100%. So yeah, we were spending a lot more money on e-resources, and we got to figure that out in the budget. But it's a good problem to have for sure. But I want to say what we want to do is we want to expand our resources while eliminating the obstacles to those resources. Because when people need information, when they need help, they don't need it tomorrow. Usually they need it yesterday. And we want to make sure that when they come to us, they get what they need and they get it quick. But out of those 4 things that Andrew Carnegie thought that libraries should provide, the one that really sticks to me, and the one that attracted me to libraries growing up, was that sense of a community hub, of community building, which I think is so incredibly important in the age of social isolation that we live in today. I remember even looking into like trends and issues in public libraries years ago, and this is like pre-COVID, and the main one that kept popping up was a lack of community engagement, a lack of civility. And I think, technology in a lot of aspects was designed to bring us closer together, as far as social media is concerned. But I think we can all see the effects that technology has had as far as social isolation and driving us further apart, where these meaningful connections, we're trying to have them, via a computer, via a cell phone, behind a screen, instead of getting out into the community and having a real conversation. And although it gives me social anxiety, when I leave here today, I'm going to be on a high from having interacted and having talked to you guys, because there is no replacing actual physical social interaction. And so I know COVID only heightened that social isolation that we face as a community, but right now I have to say that our nation is more depressed as a whole than we've ever been. We are more anxious than we've ever been. We are less involved in our community than we have ever been, and we have less meaningful connections across the board. And if you want to find out, just ask somebody how many close personal friends they have. And I guarantee you compare that to 20 years ago, it is a lot less than the average of what it used to be. So what we want to do as a library system, and has been my goal throughout my time in libraries, we want to give people a chance to connect and to be a part of the community. We strive to create friendly and interactive spaces and programming that not only provides opportunities for learning, for development, for self-betterment, but we want to provide opportunities to bring people together, to sit down at a table and find common ground. Especially, with the rise of political, racial, religious tensions that happened during COVID, it is so much harder for people now to see eye to eye. But if you can sit down with a person and have a conversation with them and find some kind of common ground, and find some respect at any kind of level for a person, I think a lot of these problems, I'm not going to say they just poof go away, but really connecting with people, trying to understand people, to seek first to understand them before you seek to be understood, will go a long way to fixing some of the problems that we face in society. So a couple of the things that we offer in the library system as far as social interaction and things of that nature are not going to be surprising to you, but I think a few might. And it's always good for me to get in front of these groups and try to tell people, what the library is doing that you may not realize is actually happening in the community. But of course, we have our book clubs, we have our story times, we have our summer reading. Which, back to book clubs, we have a cookbook club at several locations, which is actually really cool because everybody cooks a recipe from it and brings it to there, so you get a nice smorgasbord of food, which I'm all about. We obviously have arts and crafts, but we have STEM activities and programming where they're like robotics and things of that nature that are very, very interactive that you can also check out, bring home, and play with your family. We have family movie nights. We have writers groups and workshops. We have music clubs, such as the Pickin' Party over at Grove, where people bring stringed instruments in, and they all just hang out and play music together and bond over a love of a shared interest. We have guitar and piano lessons. We have math tutoring. If anything involving a needle and thread, we have it. Crocheting, quilting, sewing, knitting. We have German, Spanish, and French classes. So if you would like to learn a foreign language and you would like to learn it in person with other people instead of on Mango in your spare time like myself, you can do that. We have financial literacy programs right now for kids that we are looking to expand to other age groups. We have science programs. We have painting and watercolor classes. We have puppet shows. We have a read to dog programs that is designed to for kids to read to dogs, that it helps their reading skills, but it also improves their confidence in that area. We have Lego clubs, book making and book binding clubs, yoga clubs, and we have some passive programs that's designed specifically for social interaction, such as coffee clubs, where it is all just about, let's all have a cup of coffee together and let's talk about stuff. Just trying to connect people to the community. So I always like to talk about then how can your organization be involved, or how can people volunteer and be a part of what we're doing. And first off, I'd like to say I think there's a lot of common ground between public libraries and the Rotary Club. I think there is a focus on people, and that everyone matters, that there should be equity across the board, everyone should be treated equally, and everyone should have a voice. That we provide humanitarian services. We also foster peace and understanding, and we also try to promote goodwill in the community. So for us as a library system, and I don't think this is going to come as any surprise to anyone, our biggest hurdle, I could say it's staffing, and that is absolutely correct. We need more people to do more things in the community because, as that list shows, we try to do a lot, but there are only so many resources, so it does come down to funding. So how can individual citizens or you as a Rotary Club get involved in what we do? I think the biggest thing that we need as a library system is we need community partners with like-minded people and like-minded organizations that are willing to partner on programs. And that can be a financial sponsor to help put on a program, or that can be actually leading the program and us hosting it at the library system. Because as far as resources go, our staff we're all pretty stretched thin, and we wear a lot of different hats that I think being part of any nonprofit organization, you realize that's a must. As far as funding is concerned, it's stretched, and you need people to do multiple things. So, for example, I will say, and we have a couple members here, but we have partnered with Racial Reconciliation in the past. We did this year for MLK's Day of Learning, where the adult track was held at the Central Presbyterian Church downtown, but we held the youth track at Coyle and opened up the library on MLK Day. And they led all the programming, so it was a passive partnership on our part, providing the space, but a lot of times that is what we need with staff, stretched thin. Marvin Worthy also led a Courageous Conversations training a few months back at the Coil Free Library, really just focusing on designing to help people learn how to respond to offensive remarks, whether that's from an acquaintance or its friends, or even more dauntingly, your family members, and how to have those hard conversations. And that's about all I have. But other than programming and donations, I just want to say, help us share what we're doing. Telling people about what we're doing, telling people that you use the public library, that you use Hoopla, you use Libby for your audiobooks, that you bring your kids there, that you support us and what the library is doing. And also, if you like this really cool t-shirt, we just started this effort. And it will be, I don't think it's online just yet. I talked to Denise about it this morning, and she should put it on the website, so it should be on there by the end of the week. But great fundraiser, and there is a lot of cool stuff on this. I'm going to go broke from trying to buy some stuff. There's some great cool mugs, some cool shirts, and I have to say this is the most comfortable shirt that I own. So if that doesn't sell it, I don't know what does. But that's about all I have. And I just want to say thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to get up here and just tell you, why libraries are still important, why we're still relevant. Yes, sir.
Andrew, I've got a statement and then a question for you in terms of communications. The last 3 years, Franklin County and Chambersburg has been blessed with 36 brand new neighbors, and they're all refugees, primarily Ukraine, Haiti, and Syria.
Okay.
What I want to share with you is that virtually all of the teenagers and adults have cell phones, and the cell phones have apps that are already converted. None of them spoke English, and they're still struggling with English.
Okay.
But the point I'm trying to make about the app that exists on their cell phone, the Syrians, for example, have Arabic. The Ukrainians have Russian. So if they come into the library, you'll quickly find that they're refugees and so forth.
Okay.
Just ask them to get out the cell phone and get into the app, and you can have a two-way conversation.
Okay.
And I don't know whether you've got that capability with your own cell phone.
I keep Google Translate on my phone for that very reason. I started in my last library system where I made all of my staff download Google Translate because we had a large Spanish-speaking population and we were not all Spanish-speaking. I hablo un poco de español, but it is a work in progress. Okay. So, and not everybody does. So having that resource, we helped so many people just being able to have that on your phone and saying, can you tell me what you want? And yeah, so much easier. So
Good.
Thank you for that suggestion.
I live in Georgia. I want to know where your accent is because you don't sound like the people I live near at all.
I have gotten that even when I was manager of Georgia Libraries for a number of years, and I usually assume that people, think you sound educated, you don't sound dumb when they say you've lost your twang. So I usually take that as a compliment, but it's always really nice and makes me feel at home to hear a good Southern twang. So if anybody's got one, come talk to me.
That one's the closest thing we have now.
I was just speaking with someone yesterday about, what do you do between appointments and different things, if you're on the road making sales calls and things. I said, well, I love hopping in at the libraries, Greencastle has a great library.
Absolutely.
Coyle has a nice huddle room, so.
We also have the
that's-
terrace up top on the top level, so if you
Yeah.
ever want to work on the roof, I do it occasionally when it's not as hot as it has been. This week has been really nice.
Yeah, but I know our local libraries have great little spaces, if anybody's out between meetings, they need to, hop in, send a couple of emails, they don't want to do it in the car. Our libraries are great for that.
Yeah, please stop
I'm a
in.
big fan of Libby. I use all the time. Like,
Well,
always downloading
if
books.
you haven't tried Hoopla, try it because the great thing about Hoopla, you don't have to wait on anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out the one now.
It is available. So if you go on Libby and you're like, oh man, this book, it's checked out. Now I gotta put it on hold. And then it says, oh, well, it may be 6 to 8 weeks. And you're like, crap. Well, jump over to Hoopla. Actually, just go to our library website for whatever you're searching for. And like I said, it is a one-stop shop and it will tell you, we have this audiobook on this platform. So, and you can actually check it out straight from the library website. You don't have to bounce back to another platform and and then go check it out. You can check it out directly through the catalog.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys.